Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share with you an idea that is both simple and profoundly powerful: the concept of building yourself in silence. We live in a world that celebrates noise, that glorifies public recognition, that measures success by the applause of others. From social media notifications to constant updates on everyone else's achievements, we are constantly bombarded with the belief that visibility equals value. But I am here to tell you that true growth, the kind that transforms your life from the inside out, happens when no one is watching. It happens in silence, away from the noise, away from the distractions, and away from the expectations of the world. Consider for a moment a seed planted in the soil. No one sees it sprout. No one witnesses the roots pushing deep into the earth, anchoring themselves, gathering nutrients, and preparing to grow. Yet, beneath the surface, an incredible transformation is taking place. The seed does not need validation, attention, or approval. It does not rush itself because it feels pressured to impress. It simply focuses on growing, and when the time comes, it bursts forth with strength, standing tall and resilient. In many ways, our personal growth mirrors this quiet miracle of nature. When we focus on building ourselves in silence, we are planting seeds for a future that will astonish those who have only seen the surface. Silence is not just an absence of noise. It is an environment where focus thrives. When we remove the distractions of the outside world, we give our minds the space to think clearly, to plan deliberately, and to act with purpose. Imagine trying to read a book in a room filled with shouting voices, television blaring, and phones constantly buzzing. Your mind cannot absorb the words, cannot process the ideas, cannot internalize the lessons. But in silence, every word becomes meaningful, every idea takes root, and every thought has room to grow. The same principle applies to personal development. When we retreat from the constant chatter, we give ourselves the gift of focus, the ability to understand our strengths, recognize our weaknesses, and methodically work toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, it is in silent effort that discipline is forged. Discipline is often mistaken for public demonstrations of effort, for showing others how hard we are working. But real discipline is cultivated in private. It is waking up early when no one else is awake, practicing relentlessly when no one is watching, and staying committed to your goals, even when the world seems indifferent. There is no glamour in this process, no applause, no recognition. It is uncomfortable, demanding, and sometimes lonely. Yet it is precisely in that solitude that we find the power to grow. The world often admires the finished product, the successful entrepreneur, the accomplished athlete, the talented artist. But what they fail to see is the quiet dedication behind the scenes, the countless hours of invisible effort that made success possible. Silence also protects your journey from unnecessary distractions and negativity. When we constantly announce our plans, share our goals prematurely, or seek validation for every small achievement, we expose ourselves to criticism, doubt, and comparison. Others may unintentionally or intentionally discourage us, or even worse, their opinions may seed doubt in our own minds. By choosing to build ourselves in silence, we shield our growth from these external pressures. We allow ourselves to progress without interruption, to refine our skills, to learn from mistakes without embarrassment, and to grow confidence internally rather than externally. The most powerful transformations often happen away from the spotlight, in quiet, unassuming ways. Another critical aspect of building yourself in silence is patience. Growth is rarely instantaneous. Just as the seed takes time to become a tree, our skills, habits, and mindset require careful nurturing over time. Silence teaches patience. It reminds us that we do not need immediate recognition or instant results to prove our worth. Instead, it encourages consistent effort, small improvements, and steady progress. Each day of quiet work compounds into something significant. Each hour spent learning, practicing, and reflecting adds to the foundation upon which we will build our future. In a world obsessed with speed, silence allows us to slow down, to focus on quality rather than quantity, and to appreciate the process rather than rush to the outcome. Ladies and gentlemen, silence is also where self-awareness grows. When we step away from the noise of the world, we begin to understand ourselves more deeply. We recognize our true passions, our genuine strengths, and the areas that require improvement. We can hear the subtle whispers of intuition, the inner guidance that is often drowned out by the opinions and expectations of others. By building ourselves in silence, we align our actions with our values and goals, rather than following the temporary trends or pressures dictated by the crowd. This clarity of purpose is what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. Finally, building yourself in silence ensures that your eventual success speaks louder than words ever could. When the work is done quietly and diligently, the results become undeniable. Others may have doubted you, overlooked you, or questioned your abilities along the way, but your accomplishments will speak for themselves. The tree that grows in the quiet soil of patience and focus will stand taller than any announcement ever could. True respect, admiration, and influence are earned not through noise, but through mastery, persistence, and silent, consistent growth. Ladies and gentlemen, in a world obsessed with being seen and heard, there is unmatched power in choosing silence. Silence is not emptiness, it is potential. It is the fertile ground in which our skills, mindset, and character are cultivated. It is the quiet strength that allows us to focus, to grow, and to prepare for the moment when our efforts will shine. By embracing silence, by dedicating ourselves to growth away from the public eye, we become unstoppable. And when the time comes for the world to notice, they will see not the noise we made along the way, but the remarkable results of our quiet, determined effort. I want to speak about a truth that is often overlooked in our pursuit of success: the power of building yourself without relying on the approval of others. In a society that constantly measures achievement by likes, shares, promotions, and applause, it is easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from external sources. From a young age, we are conditioned to want approval, to be praised for our efforts, recognized for our talent, and accepted for our choices. While this desire for recognition is natural, it can also become a limiting force if we allow it to dictate our actions and define our worth. True growth, real accomplishment, and lasting success come from internal motivation, not from external praise. Imagine trying to walk a path while constantly looking behind you to see who is watching. How steady would your steps be? How far could you really go if every move you make depends on the opinions of others? When we chase validation, we are essentially letting someone else hold the map to our lives. Our choices become guided by fear of criticism or desire for approval, rather than by a clear sense of purpose and understanding of our own goals. We start shaping ourselves to fit other people's expectations, rather than focusing on the growth that truly matters. Internal motivation, on the other hand, frees us from this dependency. It allows us to take control of our journey, to act according to our own standards, and to pursue our goals with authenticity and confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, internal motivation is stronger and more resilient than any external recognition. External praise is fleeting. It comes and goes, often at the whim of circumstances or the moods of others. You may receive applause today and be ignored tomorrow. You may be celebrated for one achievement and overlooked for the next. If your motivation is tied to these external factors, it will fluctuate, leaving you discouraged, frustrated, and uncertain. Internal motivation, however, comes from within. It is rooted in a deep understanding of your purpose, a personal commitment to your goals, and the satisfaction of knowing that you are working towards something meaningful. This type of motivation is constant, reliable, and self-sustaining, allowing you to continue moving forward even when recognition is absent. It is also important to understand that seeking validation often leads to compromise. When we are focused on gaining approval, we are more likely to adjust our decisions, hide our true selves, or abandon our goals to fit the expectations of others. We might pursue careers we do not love, make choices that feel safe instead of challenging, or suppress our unique talents because we fear judgment. This constant effort to please others can be exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling. In contrast, when our drive comes from internal motivation, we act in alignment with our values, embrace our individuality, and pursue paths that genuinely resonate with us. The result is not only progress and achievement, but also a profound sense of satisfaction and self-respect. Another reason internal motivation is so powerful is that it fuels resilience. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and disappointments, and it is inevitable that not everyone will recognize or appreciate your efforts. If your energy depends on external validation, even small obstacles can feel insurmountable, because the temporary lack of praise may make you question your abilities or purpose. Internal motivation provides the foundation to persevere regardless of external circumstances. It allows you to stay committed when others doubt you, when the rewards are delayed, and when the world seems indifferent. Those who succeed most often are not the ones who sought the loudest applause. They are the ones who quietly persevered, driven by a sense of purpose and the satisfaction of knowing they are building themselves every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, building yourself through internal motivation also encourages humility and patience. When we focus on personal growth rather than recognition, we learn to appreciate the process rather than the outcome. Every hour spent practicing, learning, and improving becomes valuable, not because it will be praised, but because it contributes to our development. We start measuring success in terms of progress and mastery, rather than applause or social validation. This mindset cultivates patience, persistence, and a deeper understanding of what it truly means to grow. It allows us to stay grounded, even in moments of achievement, because we recognize that the journey itself is what shapes our character and capabilities. Furthermore, avoiding the need for validation enhances our creativity and authenticity. When our actions are influenced by external approval, we may be hesitant to take risks or think differently, fearing criticism or disapproval. Internal motivation liberates us from these constraints. It gives us the courage to innovate, experiment, and follow our unique instincts. We are free to make mistakes, learn from them, and adjust our approach without the HT of judgment. This freedom often leads to breakthroughs, personal breakthroughs, and achievements that would not have been possible if our primary concern had been what others might think. Ladies and gentlemen, internal motivation is also a source of true confidence. Confidence that comes from within is unshakable because it is based on self-awareness and a commitment to personal standards, rather than the temporary approval of others. When you are motivated by your own goals and values, your actions naturally reflect integrity, dedication, and consistency. People around you will notice this authenticity, and admiration comes not from performing for others, but from embodying your true self. This kind of respect is deeper, more lasting, and far more rewarding than superficial praise. In conclusion, avoiding the trap of seeking validation or approval from others is not about isolating yourself from the world or dismissing the support of others. It is about finding strength, purpose, and direction within yourself. It is about cultivating the internal motivation that fuels consistent effort, resilience, and authentic growth. By focusing on what truly matters to you, rather than the fleeting opinions of others, you empower yourself to achieve goals that align with your values, to persevere through challenges, and to develop a sense of self-worth that is independent of external recognition. Remember that the most remarkable transformations often occur quietly, away from the eyes of the world, driven by the unwavering force of internal motivation. The applause of others may come, or it may not, but the satisfaction, growth, and strength that you build within yourself are yours forever. I want to speak about a principle that is simple in concept, but life-changing in practice: the power of small, consistent efforts. In our fast-paced world, we are often drawn to quick results and instant gratification. We admire the overnight successes, the dramatic transformations, and the sudden breakthroughs that seem to appear out of nowhere. Yet, what we often fail to see, and what the truly successful understand, is that these visible achievements are rarely sudden at all. Behind every remarkable outcome lies countless hours of small, persistent actions, performed quietly and consistently over time. It is in this quiet, disciplined accumulation of effort that real greatness is built. Consider for a moment the way a river carves a canyon. The water flows gently, almost imperceptibly, day after day, year after year. At first glance, the movement seems insignificant, barely making a mark on the stone beneath it. But over time, that persistent flow shapes the landscape, transforming solid rock into a magnificent canyon. The river does not boast or rush. It simply continues, day after day, and the results speak for themselves. In the same way, our own efforts, no matter how small they seem, have the potential to create extraordinary results if maintained consistently over time. Each small action is like a drop of water in the river of our growth, gradually shaping the person we become. Ladies and gentlemen, the beauty of small, consistent efforts is that they are accessible to everyone. You do not need extraordinary talent or immediate resources to begin. You only need the commitment to take the first step and continue taking steps, no matter how modest they may seem. It could be as simple as dedicating 30 minutes a day to learning a new skill, writing a page each day if you aspire to be an author, exercising a few minutes each day if you want to improve your health, or reflecting daily to strengthen your mindset. Each of these seemingly minor actions may feel inconsequential in the moment, especially when compared to the grand achievements we admire, but over time, they compound into something powerful. Consistency is the multiplier of effort. Many people give up too soon because they underestimate the value of incremental progress. They look at the enormity of their goals and feel overwhelmed, expecting dramatic results immediately. When the results do not appear, they lose motivation, assuming their efforts are futile. But this is a misunderstanding of how growth works. Success is rarely linear or instantaneous. It is built quietly, gradually, through repeated effort. Each small step, though invisible at first, strengthens your skills, sharpens your knowledge, and fortifies your discipline. Over months and years, these steps compound, accelerating your progress and creating momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Consistency in private also builds character. When no one is watching, it is easy to skip the effort, to take shortcuts, or to give in to laziness. But those who choose to act consistently, even when it is inconvenient or unnoticed, develop qualities that cannot be taught or borrowed: patience, perseverance, and self-discipline. These qualities are far more valuable than talent alone because they ensure that growth continues, even in the face of obstacles, setbacks, or criticism. The quiet, persistent worker develops a foundation so strong that when opportunities arise, they are ready to seize them, while those who relied solely on talent or luck may falter. Ladies and gentlemen, the compounding effect of small, consistent efforts is remarkable. Think about how compound interest works in finance. A modest investment, if nurtured consistently, grows exponentially over time. Similarly, the actions we take daily, no matter how small, accumulate, building skills, knowledge, confidence, and resilience. You may not notice the progress week to week, but over months and years, the results become undeniable. The person you were yesterday, last month, or last year is no longer the person you are becoming. The quiet, steady effort shapes your future, creating opportunities and achievements that once seemed impossible. It is also important to recognize that small efforts in private allow you to focus on mastery rather than recognition. When we act for the sake of appearance or praise, we are often distracted by the opinions of others, rushing to impress instead of striving to improve. But when we dedicate ourselves to consistent action quietly, our only accountability is to ourselves. This focus on the process, rather than the reward, fosters genuine improvement and a deeper understanding of what we are doing. Over time, mastery emerges not from grand gestures, but from the repetition of simple actions performed with dedication and care. Another powerful aspect of small, consistent efforts is that they build confidence. Each day that you show up, put in the work, and take the next step towards your goal, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Confidence is not built in a single moment of success. It is forged gradually, through repeated evidence of your own ability to act and persevere. Each small victory, though invisible to the world, reinforces your belief in yourself, creating an inner strength that carries you through challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, the key is patience and persistence. The results of your consistent efforts may not be visible today, or even tomorrow, but they are accumulating. The small actions you take now are investments in the person you will become and the life you will lead. Trust the process, embrace the daily grind, and remain committed, even when it feels insignificant. Remember that the most successful people in history did not achieve greatness overnight. They achieved it through countless small steps, repeated faithfully, often in private, before the world took notice. In life, there is no shortcut to lasting success. There is no magic formula that replaces steady effort. The power lies in the quiet commitment to yourself, in the discipline to take consistent action, and in the patience to let those actions compound over time. By embracing this principle, you give yourself the gift of extraordinary results, not because of luck or recognition, but because you built them from the ground up with your own hands every single day. Today, I want to talk about something that is often overlooked in the pursuit of success: the value of patience, solitude, and the quiet work of self-improvement. In a world that glorifies speed, instant results, and constant connection, we have come to expect rapid achievements, visible progress, and immediate validation. Social media celebrates overnight transformations, viral moments, and public recognition, giving the impression that greatness is instant. Yet the truth is far more profound. Learning, self-discipline, and the mastery of skills are rarely immediate. They require time, patience, and often a deliberate choice to work in solitude, away from the distractions and applause of the world. Imagine a musician learning a new instrument. In the beginning, each note feels awkward, each rhythm uncertain, and each melody incomplete. The temptation to quit is strong because progress is slow and the results are not immediately impressive. The audience is not applauding yet, and the world has not taken notice. But the musician who chooses to practice daily, in quiet determination, gradually develops skill. Finger movements become precise, rhythms become natural, and melodies begin to flow effortlessly. This is not magic. It is the result of patience, consistent effort, and the willingness to embrace solitude for the sake of growth. Every hour spent practicing alone compounds into mastery, a mastery that no external approval can replace. Ladies and gentlemen, the same principle applies to personal growth and self-discipline. Discipline is not built in the spotlight. It is forged in private, in moments when no one is watching. It is waking up early to work on your goals, even when you feel tired. It is choosing the challenging path instead of the easy one. It is saying no to distractions and temptations that do not serve your growth. These decisions, repeated day after day, may seem insignificant at the time, but they develop character, resilience, and the mental strength required to achieve long-term success. Solitude provides the environment necessary for these decisions to take root, free from the noise and influence of others. Learning, too, thrives in patience and solitude. When we allow ourselves the time and space to study, practice, and reflect, we absorb knowledge more deeply. Rushing through lessons, seeking shortcuts, or constantly seeking approval interrupts this process. True learning requires focus, repetition, and a willingness to struggle through challenges without immediate rewards. Whether it is acquiring a professional skill, mastering a sport, or understanding complex ideas, the depth of your understanding depends on the patience to engage with the process fully, and the solitude to concentrate without interruption. Solitude is not loneliness, it is a tool for growth. Many of the most successful people in history have understood this. They have spent countless hours alone, reading, reflecting, and refining their craft. They have recognized that the quiet moments, away from distractions, are when real transformation occurs. Solitude allows you to evaluate your actions, identify mistakes, and develop strategies to improve. It creates the mental space to think critically, plan effectively, and grow deliberately. In these quiet moments, you are not building for the approval of others, you are building yourself from the inside out. Patience is equally essential because growth is rarely immediate. In a culture obsessed with instant results, it is easy to become frustrated when progress is slow or setbacks occur. We compare ourselves to others who seem to advance faster or achieve more visibly, and we risk giving up before our efforts bear fruit. Yet the reality is that meaningful growth cannot be rushed. Patience allows us to continue learning, practicing, and building discipline, even when the results are not yet apparent. It is the recognition that every small step, every moment of focus, contributes to a larger transformation over time. Ladies and gentlemen, skill building and personal development also require embracing discomfort. Solitude and patience often mean confronting challenges alone, facing moments of doubt, and enduring the monotony of repetitive practice. It is in these moments of discomfort that true growth occurs. When you push yourself to study longer, practice more diligently, or resist distractions, you are not only learning new skills but also strengthening your mindset. Over time, this mental fortitude becomes an invaluable asset, enabling you to navigate obstacles and challenges with confidence and resilience. The quiet work of self-improvement also teaches humility. When we focus on our own growth without seeking recognition, we develop a mindset rooted in progress rather than praise. We learn to value effort over applause, mastery over appearance, and results over acknowledgement. This humility allows us to remain disciplined, continue learning, and persevere through setbacks, without relying on external validation. We come to understand that the journey itself, The hours spent in patient practice, reflection, and deliberate action is as valuable as the destination. Solitude and patience also enhance creativity and problem-solving. When we spend time alone, reflecting and thinking deeply, our minds are free to explore new ideas, test possibilities, and innovate without distraction. Many breakthroughs, inventions, and creative achievements have emerged from moments of quiet reflection. The mind, when allowed to focus and explore without interruption, can achieve insights that are impossible amid constant noise and external pressure. By embracing patience and solitude, you give yourself the mental space to unlock your full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is that there are no shortcuts to mastery, self-discipline, or personal growth. These qualities are built slowly, carefully, and deliberately, often in private and away from recognition. Those who embrace patience, dedicate themselves to learning, and willingly spend time in solitude position themselves for extraordinary results. The world may not see the hours of practice, the repeated efforts, or the silent struggles, but the outcomes will be undeniable. Patience and solitude are not just tools, they are the very environment in which greatness is nurtured. In life, it is essential to understand that the greatest achievements often have humble beginnings. The work done quietly, consistently, and patiently shapes character, skill, and potential in ways that external praise alone never can. By valuing solitude and embracing patience, by dedicating ourselves to learning and discipline away from the eyes of others, we ensure that when the time comes, our growth is solid, our skills are refined, and our results are powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, the quiet moments matter. They are where the foundation of your future is built, where your skills are sharpened, and where your character is strengthened. In patience and solitude, you cultivate the power to transform not just your abilities, but your life itself.